Good afternoon, everybody. Can you all hear me okay out there? We're going to start with everybody standing up just for 1 second. We're going to add a little bit of energy into this room because we're going to shake everybody up with this panel. I think that's what we've just agreed. So stand up and welcome everybody. And fantastic to be here with you. And thank you very much for having us. So I have the huge pleasure of moderating this fantastic panel of founders and people who've flown in from London and San Francisco. So before we kick off the discussion, let me ask everybody, please, Paula, if you want to start, to introduce yourselves, tell everybody who you are and what you've been doing really quickly. Thank you.
Sure. Hi, my name is Paula Schwarz. I'm half German and half Greek. I'm the daughter of an investor and also the heiress of the second largest pharmaceutical empire in Germany. And my mother is from the Greek islands, so I have one foot in venture capital and economics and the other one very much on the islands. So I work in migration, and because I couldn't really participate in the family business, it was very male-run, I spent a long time on the Greek islands working to build up companies, build up 5 companies, and after that the Syrian refugee crisis hit in 2015. Which caused 4 million people to essentially walk from Syria to Turkey and then swim to Greece. And that's when, for the first time, I started working in mass migration. I have an incubator for refugee projects, refugee-related projects. And the latest project that I'm here to present now is one that seeks to improve registration systems, because the global spending is roughly 3 trillion on ineffective registration, and only the UN itself spends $59 billion annually. And so I think that that can be improved, the numbers, which is why out of San Francisco, where I live now, we're building an AI that has massively already improved the situation in Rwanda and Burundi and in Nigeria, where we piloted. And so I'm here to look for investors who want to co-invest with me into this, and to expand this and to improve the registration systems in refugee camps and beyond for people who need help.
Fantastic. What a background. Hold all of context. Af, please.
Hi, thank you for having me here today. So I'm Af Malhotra. I'm actually from London, of Indian origin, not from India, but have spent a lot of my time there as well. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Diversity Economics AI. What we're doing is very important and very novel and provocative. We're bringing generative AI and bringing it into the world of diversity, equity, inclusion. And the problem we're solving for global corporations and investors is related to the lack of data. They just don't have enough data when it comes to DEI-related decision-making. And what's happening in the market today is smoke and mirrors. It's tick box exercises. We need to transform and change that. And I'll leave you with this fact. You're not going to believe this, but the DEI market is actually a market. It's a $10 billion industry, according to our friends at McKinsey and World Economic Forum, and it's set to become a $30 billion industry. Most of the money today is going to our friends at McKinsey, Booz Allen, and PwC, and I'm happy for them, but I'm here to take some of that and put it onto platforms. So, glad to be here.
Laura, please.
Hi, so I am Laura Avonius. I'm the founder and CEO of Audicin. And actually, last year, I had a pleasure to be here in the semifinals pitching that company. And I just said to my colleagues that I am much more calmer now because I'm not in the competition. And that's what Audicin is actually related as well. So with Audicin, we have created audio treatments that regulate your nervous system and start targeted brain waves when you are working and doing other activities. So we can help anybody who is experiencing stress, who is experiencing hard time to focus. We can activate those brain waves with our music treatments. So all you have to do is put on your headphones and press play. But we have a growing number of people with insomnia who are using then different brainwave activations. So basically we have 5 brainwaves and we can activate any of those: creativity, stress release, focus, and sleep. And I'm very happy to be in this panel talking about the most important topic, I think, in the investment world nowadays, diversity.
What Laura forgot to mention, because she's too modest, is she's a prize winner and a whole lot of other things. So I'm going to say that for you.
And
Markus.
she just closed her $30 million round today. So.
Hey!
Thank you.
Markus.
Okay, nice to be here. My name is Markus Räikkönen. I'm an entrepreneur. The past few years I actually was a VC, but then I found this cool mission of Forte AI and I had to step back to the seat, to the driving seat. So now I'm the CEO and co-founder of Forte AI. It's a job and talent network where we actually give everybody an AI assistant. So what does that mean? For professionals and businesses, we give them AI assistants that actually help in recruitment, career development, and actually organizing the job market globally in a new way where AI actually can empower humans to reach their potential and make companies achieve their collective goals better. So that's what I'm doing, and very heavy on the future of AI. But also I have experience in building diverse teams. Also I'm on the board of this cool satellite company here in Helsinki, where we have 18 nationalities with 60 people. So also really happy to talk about how to hire the best talents around the world. So keep it short.
Fantastic. So we're going to dive in how to scale a diverse tech company. So you might sit there thinking, why is that even a topic, right? So we know why diversity and inclusion is a very important topic. I've just put some numbers to that. But why is it a topic in relation to scaling a tech company? I don't mind who starts, but you all have fantastic different experiences. So anyone dive in, please. Why is this even a topic that we need to discuss?
I can start.
Yeah,
if you want.
maybe you can.
So it's a big question, and it's an important question. I want to first start with my colleague here on the right when she talked about your background, and you used the words women and men, and you said it was male-dominated, and so on. So let me first start with that. It is an important topic because whether you're a startup in technology or you're a limited established business trading on an exchange, innovation, decision-making, talent will only be attracted and will only get better when you have an environment that is breeding diversity as opposed to a homogeneous environment, which is same. Boards that are homogeneous, where you have only men or only white men or middle-aged men or whoever it may be, now we know after the 2008 financial crisis, thanks to our good friend, the late Daniel Kahneman, he summed it up beautifully. He said the reason the crash happened in 2008 was because the decision-making was influenced by groupthink. Groupthink. So we're all just saying yes because we all think the same, we feel the same, we do the same, we've been educated in the same institutions. Since then, a lot's changed in the world. Since then, we've had these panels and these topics are coming to the forefront. I believe if we create change together and we bring different people with different backgrounds, men, women, people from different racial backgrounds, people who have different preferences, different socioeconomic backgrounds, you'll see that they'll tackle problems so differently, right? And I've seen that firsthand in the startup side. This is my 4th venture that we've built. I've failed numerous times and I've succeeded a few times. And every time I've had a team that is different, we've made the right calls, we made the right decisions. And so I think it's terribly important. It's not a choice anymore. It's a necessity. And the final point I want to make is, for anyone listening here who's building a company, even a startup, you have to hard code your culture with DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. You have to hard code it. It's not a strategy document. It's not, an earnings call release. It should be the fabric of your business. Only then will you see the markets change and the markets react to you in a positive way, and you building the best products in the world. So that's how I'll start off.
So
what a way to start. Hey, Paula,
I would
perspective,
fully
please.
agree. And there is also research that suggests that the AI, for example, for skin detections, like of skin problems, is mostly trained to detect skin of, I don't know, I think it's 30 to 50-year-old men who are white. So if you train an AI with problems that are already existing, and the gender gap, is one of those, then really the AI is not going to solve anything. It's just going to replicate, first of all, the problems that we have, and it's going to learn the things that we give to it. And so if we feed it with our worldview, then we're a little bit fucked, in a sense, for the future, because then we just end up nowhere. And so in our case, we do registration systems of people who need help, and many of them are angry. They're in a situation where they waited forever. And so we offer behavioral assessments. So with us, people can take a 2-minute test, and even if you don't have a passport, you immediately get 2 million data points about yourself. So for example, if a company is then looking for a waitress, and they're looking for someone who's open-minded and kind, and just takes decisions by herself but doesn't come late, we can find that profile within a camp, within a region, and we can do the matchmaking like a Tinder, basically. And so the reason why that is important is because people have a fear of collaborating through different diversity groups, and I think we can use technology in order to bridge that gap of me trusting you, even though I would love to get to know you better. And AI and technology and big data can help with that, but we can also use it for things that are very irrelevant. And I'm a little bit worried about that. We can continue to go into consumerism and excessive capitalism, but we really shouldn't do that. And I think we should have a collective wake up. So that's why I do what I do.
Fantastic. Laura?
Yes. I was a leader like over 20 years before I became a startup founder, and it's kind of basic in the leadership training what you are being told and taught, that you need to build a diverse team in like any aspect. Like you need to have different personalities. If you are building a global product, you can't have just one nationality, one ethnicity. You need to have a broader group, and you create the best results with that kind of diversity. And we can see from the data that diverse teams perform much better, and it's the same with the startups. And then I still remember like my first slush as a founder, when I went to the founder day and there were 200 clones. Everybody was even dressed the same. And I was like thinking like, okay, like I would be very worried as an investor if this is really the startup scene, that we are, we founders are the same gender, same ethnicity, even dressed pretty similarly, representing the same kind of culture and mindset. Like that is not the way to build successful company. You actually need diversity in it. So I think it's very rational to talk about this topic and keep it as a priority. The unconscious bias that is visible in the startup scene, that is the irrational part, because it's actually not a good decision to have that bias and then let it influence, for instance, your investment decisions. Because I think unconsciously, when the scene has been like this forever, everybody expects the startup founder to be that clone type of person and not a different kind of person. So we are losing a lot of money and opportunities if we keep on living with that bias.
Can I just make one point? So I was in the corporate too in the old days, and we were trained and we had the best leadership training and so on. However, the oxymoron here is that the buck stops at the top. So whilst we were, I wasn't on the board of the company, but I was senior, and so I had great training and I was taught all the right things. When I looked up, though, then there was homogeneity. Everyone looked the same.
Yes.
That's one thing. The second thing I just want to say, because I'm in the DEI space and I deal with a lot of objections of people, and funnily enough, they're people who come from DEI backgrounds. It's the funniest thing ever. They're the ones who challenge me first to say, oh, do you really need this F? And I will tell you this, that prejudice and bias is a human condition.
Yes.
We are all somewhat racist. We are all somewhat prejudiced. So don't feel that bad about it, but feel bad about the fact that you didn't know it and you're not doing something to change it. There's a saying, to be understood, you first need to understand. I just wanted to add to that.
Yes.
Really.
Love it. Why are we talking about diversity in relation to scaling?
Yeah, so I'd like to give two contexts here. So one context from the deep tech company side, where we need specific know-how, and the other one is like the AI context for the future. So, but basically the way to hire, actually, I work a lot with deep tech company, maybe in space or nuclear or something. So actually it comes very naturally. So basically you just need to hire the skills that you need in the beginning, and wherever you can find those skills, you need to take it, because you actually have a mission that you need to do. You are doing something new in the world. So if the skill set is somewhere, you just have to take it, and it becomes natural, because then there's male, female, different country. So that's actually how many deep tech companies grow, and the mission actually brings them in. So that many times it happens very naturally, and you have diverse teams, and the mission, the shared mission actually brings people together. So here it's very straightforward, usually. But with some other companies where you make like more basic application, then it's maybe different. But then of course, I work with AI, so I would like to bring this to the AI context of the future. So in the future, when everybody has an AI, so actually companies can find the matching talents or the teammates all over the world, and kind of referencing what was said here before, I think we can be moving in a better time and age, where if I have a need in my team, but actually the AI finds in a different country and a different location, I shouldn't really care where it's coming from if the skill set is matching. And otherwise we can figure out that the personalities and everything is a match. So I think there's a lot of positive things, and we are kind of transitioning in the era of skills in a way.
Right, let's dive in. Keep your answers brief, please, because we have a lot to go through. So let me tap into your experience. So each of you, give an example, if you have one, of a challenge you've come across, either personally or you have witnessed in your space, where a diversity or inclusion issue has impacted whatever you were trying to achieve or whoever you witnessed. Just give us an example. Let's get a sense of what's going on out there. We know the female founder issues quite well, but I think let's look at this a bit more broadly now. So brief answers, please, panel.
I guess my personal answer would be that, I'm the heiress of this company, and it was started by my great-grandfather and my grandfathers, my grand-uncle and my grandfather and my great-grandfather. Sorry, I speak slowly today. But very male-dominated, and then women were never seen in the center of this company. And unfortunately, there was one suicide of a woman who really tried to also take a leadership role, who's my aunt. And so I was worried about trying to play that game.
Right.
And I was like, okay, I better go to my island, sit here, and just focus hardcore on tech. And my computer became kind of my best friend. And I was living next to that refugee camp, so I met a lot of people who were in a different position, who had no idea who I was. And so many of my friends are very different from me. And if I wouldn't have had that exclusion, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I'm kind of happy about it.
So that was the next question.
Yeah,
so
sorry.
Unconscious bias, first female in charge, and that obviously had an impact very sadly on someone, and you felt that.
No, it's great. For me, I built my own family office afterwards, and I was able to,
So that's about resilience. We'll come back to that in a second. Af.
Okay.
I'll give you a slightly different example. One of the companies that I was building a while back, and I'm admitting it here, we had some coders, and the coders were from the Asian market, for example, and the company was built in the UK. And we had a data company, and back in the days, 2016, there was machine learning, there wasn't AI the way it is today, and then you had to create some algorithms and so on. And the data set came out, and we saw in the data set, it was a startup database, essentially, like Crunchbase on steroids. It was called Growth Enabler. And we saw that it was massively dominated by a certain demographic. I'm not going to say if it was man, woman, or whatever, certain demographic. And I thought, this is weird. It can't be, when I type in IoT, you just can't have these founders. And then I realized that when the coding was done on the back end, the people who coded had some inherent biases. There were no women in it, et cetera, et cetera. And then I'd realized first time in my life that, crikey, even through code, if you don't watch it carefully and you don't have measures in place, your coders, I mean, it's not their fault. It was unintentional, unconscious bias. It was buried into my code. We fixed it. That was my first experience of IT, code, and bias.
Right. Fantastic. Not fantastic that it happened, but a fantastic example that this is actually more pervasive and happens in perhaps unexpected areas, right? That I hadn't expected you to say that. So that's very interesting. Laura, what have you come across any? Please keep your answer brief.
Well, I think as a founder, we still struggle with the unconscious bias a lot. And then I think also like it's a little bit hard to navigate the landscape because we are all female founded. So we have 3 female founders, and then there are all these programs in place, like EU has an agenda to support us. For instance, if you go to the deep tech funds, there is like one criteria is a balanced gender team, but we actually got feedback that we haven't promoted enough men. So that was also interesting, like, okay, now this is a problem that we promoted too many women, or we are in an early stage, so we don't have that many senior positions. So they reviewed that now they are discriminating men because it's all female founded, even though we were told that this whole principle is there in order to get rid of the bias. So I think we have this pragmatic problem that how do we raise the kind of unrepresented groups without discriminating then the white men, basically. Yep. So that was interesting experience.
Indeed, absolutely a valid point, right? Because there is a danger of that, right? Markus,
yeah.
Have you?
Well, maybe to summarize this, I have the exact same examples, but basically when you are building a product, there's always a surprise because you have the core team building something, then you take the product to the market, and then you realize like, oh no, there's like a lot of stuff that we didn't even think about. So for example, if we're building tools to help in career development and everything, it's very different for a man, actually, than maybe for a female if there's children and you go away from the job market, and what happens then and how to develop the skills or something like that. So totally different situation. So if the core team building any kind of system for that mindset, so there's always surprises. So that's maybe the learning from here. So just to keep an open mind.
So what this tells us is as we all know, there's a big pie here, and in entrepreneurship, so women constitute the largest underrepresented group, right? And we in Nordic Advocates obviously have been working with that for quite some time now, including the program here in Finland. But what is also really important is to see that there are other underrepresented groups, not just the women here, right? So a whole load of different people of other ethnic heritage, LGBTQ, 50+, people with neurodivergence, functional impairment, whatnot. It's a problem, isn't it, that we are not unlocking all that talent. So I think it's important that we have a very diverse team here, and not only focusing on one element. So that's the problem. Now, I want to talk quickly, and please be brief if you will. So a solution, right? So we want to focus on solutions. So you are up against what you were explaining to us before, and sadly, a woman, lost her life. What did you do in your situation? What was the solution? Did you sit back and say, right, I've got to be resilient here. How do I deal with it? What did you do, and how has that shaped you from that point onwards? Let's call you a diverse founder for a second.
Yeah, I like the word resilience that you used, because I do think that in our era of the human experience, we need to learn to interact elegantly and gracefully with each other across different cultures, across different points of view with people who are not thinking the same as us. And I came into a situation where I had to confront my family and say, I'm pulling out of everything that has to do with them. And I built my own little castle. And of course, they didn't like it because I'm the heiress of something. And so I respectfully had to, create. First, I think you create some distance and some space for yourself to feel who you are and to really create an identity for yourself that you can live in, and then you re-engage, because a problem does not go away if you don't look at it. Like, even if you have an illness or something that wants to be looked at, and family wants to be engaged with. So for me, it was very important to create my own culture of interaction, which is also something in my company that we really try to act upon, because the code, the ethical and elegant code is very important. And so, we do form relationships, and I'm an example of why that's important. Like, I took our test. I take it all the time, actually. I make everybody around me take it. And so it's really like a self-help platform of Paula Schwarz as well. And now I'm good with my family. I'm the only person who has offspring. I have 2 kids. And so they're also in a situation now where they're going to benefit from the inheritance of my family, because they did not look away from us and they did not abandon us. They wanted to re-engage, even though I pulled out. So, yeah.
Thank you for sharing your personal story. That's a very interesting journey, and how you took away some learning from that. How has what you have faced or seen shaped you and helped you achieve what you have achieved, perhaps despite some of the bias?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult question, but I'll try and sum it up with 2 words: courageous conversations, which is what we're trying to have here today. And it's important because I figured out in my life experiences have made me who I am, no doubt, like all of you. My starting point, though, was different. And so when people have a discussion with me about privilege, and they say, well, you're privileged, you did this and you did that, and you had this company, I say, yes, but what was my starting point compared to yours? And that's where the conversation starts. And believe it or not, it generally ends up in a good place. It gets heated. I've had the most heated conversations with people who I wouldn't call racists, but I would call them traditionalists, rigidites, not Luddites, rigidites. And through a conversation, you can change people's minds. Through education, you can. Courageous conversations is what's made my life a little bit better.
We'll take that away. Courageous conversation. Laura, briefly, please.
Yes, so we have been dealing with this issue by being very open about it. So we talk about the unconscious bias, and I totally agree that everybody has it, including myself. And the same, that we should not be defensive about it, like I would never be racist or I would never be misogynist, when in fact we have been brainwashed to this thinking that people are not equal, and it impacts every one of us. So in our company, we talk about it very openly. And actually, it's like the clue that people, our employees, they very much like to be led by women. They are very proud that this is a tech company led by women, and mostly the men also. So, and it's the same with our investors, so we can talk about it. Like, I don't need to say that I feel like this was caused because of bias, and feel afraid that they will feel like it's not true. So we have this relationship that we acknowledge the bias, and we understand that it hurts us, and we can talk about it, and we understand that it's an obstacle, but it makes us stronger.
Markus.
So, yeah, I would also like, because there were so many good points, to bring it back maybe there, that you should, when hiring and building a team and looking at people, you need to have extremely open mind. And you need to be aware that you can spot talent and good spirit that you want to bring into your company. from very different places, because you need to be aware that sometimes you spot talent and passion about the work from places that look very different of you and your teammates. So it can be a different gender, different origin of the country, or very different background. So I would just to summarize this, so I think the principle should always be like, when you are hiring and finding people, you should first look at the talent and the spirit they can bring to the company, and only after where they're coming from or what the gender is.
Fantastic. We're up against time. You're allowed one sentence. One thing I haven't mentioned or asked that I should have mentioned or asked, or one piece of advice you want to give to everybody out there. One sentence, please. Paula.
Networking is important, but so is knowing where you stand and what you want from life. Don't just be random networkers.
Good advice. F.
Not me, but Oscar Wilde. Be yourself. Everybody else is already taken.
That's brilliant. Laura?
I would say that acknowledge and be aware of the bias, like approve it and kind of learn to live with it. Don't be defensive about it.
Yeah. Look for future stars. So keep an open mind, and you will find amazing talent for your team.
Wow, what a way to end. Can we give them a round of applause? Markus, Laura, Af, and Paula, thank you very much indeed to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. And I'm sure we'll stick around a little bit
Thank you.
to have a chat if anyone wants to have a chat. But